Alright, you guys. It's time we talk about the future of the Satellarknights as we know it. Welcome back to my channel, guys. I am Satellarknight, your local favorite Satellarknight player. I am very hyped today because Miami Heat actually won Game 2 of these playoffs. I don't know if you guys are NBA fans or not. I'm not a Heat fan. I'm a Laker fan, of course. But, man, Jimmy Butler deserves it. Watch me start my own YouTube channel now on NBA. Anyway, the reason for this video in particular is I kind of want to talk about Satellarknights in depth. I kind of want to touch up on that. I want to touch up on the ban list a little bit because I know I haven't done it properly. I want to touch up on a few changes that I made to the deck and I'm still currently making. And then I want to get your opinions in the comments down below. Let me know what kind of cards you're running in your Satellarknight deck or what kind of techie cards you think will benefit from this this meta into this deck. So yeah, so first point to touch up the ban list. I think it's a pretty good ban list. I do feel bad for super heavy samurais, but you gotta understand, and I've touched up on this point before, if the deck doesn't make you money, it's most likely gonna go away, and that's sure enough what super heavy samurai was, and quickly became a tier 1 deck, and it was a cheap deck to make, and Konami thought they would get rid of it. Is the deck useless now? No. Does it drop a tier? Yes. Still gotta respect it. I'm pretty sure a lot of YouTubers, if not already, found a different way to build the deck. Branded got their boost. You wonder why is, or rather not get hit by the ban list that much except for Expulsion. One, because they're printing a lot of Starlight rare versions of those cards. I mean, the deck itself is expensive. I used to run a branded deck. I would know. I always pursued Mirage, but the card was $400 at the time, and I don't know if it still is. I bet it is. Cartesia is another Starlight. There's a bunch of Starlights, and Quim as well. So they're not touching that deck. Konami's making money off of that deck. They're gonna leave it alone, which brings me to my next point. Now it's time to adjust from Drone Lockbird to more of Ash Blossom again, because you're gonna see a lot of branded players yet again. Get familiar with beating branded, find their choke points, and find a way to counter them in a way, like put in cards obviously that do more harm to them than benefit you in a way, if that makes any sense. If not, it's okay, I'll go over it in detail. To touch up on the Satellarknights current state, Circular did get hit. I did have that engine running in the deck. I used to have 3 circulars, now we're back down to 1, which kind of made me pivot to a little bit of a different direction. I'm still running the circular package. I think the Matmec package is very good. Creates an Omni Negate with Laplation, and then it's kind of Trishula. It's a very underrated, and it synergizes with this deck very well. If, by the way, I did my giveaway of the Wild Survivors. Superfast J, if you're watching this video, you have won. Check in my Instagram, follow, message me there to claim your prize. Everyone else, thank you for playing, and there will be more opportunities in the future to come. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button, guys. I really appreciate all this support, and let's get into this video. Let me talk about the deck a little bit and then see where we're heading with it. So for me, I kind of reintroduced the Bestial package in this deck again. Smaller than ever before. Only 3 Bestials right now, mainly Lubellion to search off of, and then Magnamut and Drew Swarm to kind of reintroduce themselves into this format because of Branded being the deck again. These cards, I think this is enough when it comes to hand traps for in terms of Bestials, and they do belong in my main deck because all in all, I ended up putting Chaos Angel back in this deck. If you have not noticed, Chaos Angel has skyrocketed in price to about $70 lately, and there's a reason why Chaos Angel lives in this deck now. One, it's easy to bring out in case I get interrupted multiple times, and 2, it's really good when it comes to going second. I took out Trevor. You know what? I'll go over it with you. I'm not going to give away too much, otherwise this will be a short video. So let's go into the next hand trap section, and there'll be 3 copies of Ash Blossoms. This young lady found her way back into our hearts, into this deck, because it's good against Branded. That's the only reason why it's in this deck. Branded is gonna be tier 1. Part of me kind of regrets giving up on it a little bit, but Satellarknights is where my love is. And yeah, so I'm sticking with this deck. Ghost Ogre came out. She's good, but again, that was mostly against super heavy samurais, which I feel like I don't really necessarily need to play her anymore. So she's completely out. So that's the kind of the hand traps version of this deck. That's what I run. And then for the Satellarknights, the packages are still the same. 3 the Nebs. Some people I see that they're running this card at 2 or even at 1. 3 is pretty staple for me, and it will be staple for me for a long time. And she pairs well with Tellarknight Liren. Liren, I misplayed a couple of times with her. I kind of got carried away, and I'm like, oh, Tellarknight hits the field, she summons herself. Keep in mind that with Liren, if it only her effect only triggers off of a normal summon. And also another thing to keep in mind, when you're going first and you don't open any of the spell cards, and you got these two going, you got the turn skip, that's fine. But if you don't, you have her off of another like Unukalai, you want to add Skybridge initially because that'll maximize your value off of Caduceus. Because once Caduceus goes into the graveyard, hits the field, it can recycle a copy of Liren and the Skybridge back into your hand. So basically, in turn 1, you're going to see Caduceus twice. The first time you're not going to activate his effect. You're only going to activate his second effect to bring the new Tellarknight spell card to your hand, and then the second time, that's when you're going to kind of recycle Skybridge for the follow-up. The thing that I've been kind of interested in is Satellarknight Altair. He's a really good card. However, the tricky part becomes when you're doing the turn skip. You're essentially only have the turn skip twice because there's only so many times you can bring him out. So yeah, definitely I can see maybe bumping them to 3 if you want, but 2 works for me now. I choose not to focus on the turn skip so much, more and more on building boards, which is what this deck is designed for, actually. 1 copy of Alteran. 2 would have been nice, however you don't want to see 2, so live and die by 1. You're always dumping her off from Unukalai primarily. Unukalai is your Foolish Burial, and yeah, you definitely want to dump off Alteran with it. So yeah, this is now I'm noticing it's kind of transitioned into like a deck profile in a way, except that I want to really touch up on these cards so you guys know when to play them correctly and when to lead off with them and when not to. So if you have like what do you call it, the Neb in your hand and Unukalai, you essentially want to start with if those are like the only Tellarknights, go with the Neb, set up for that follow-up. However, if you have like these 2 combinations, you definitely want to go Unukalai instead of, don't normal summon Alteran, for crying out loud. Just keep it in your hands for later. Yeah, definitely don't want to summon Altair, especially if your graveyard is empty. Satellarknight Vega is an interesting card because it's definitely a good extender. However, it kind of becomes a little bit irrelevant knowing that what the Satellarknights are capable of now. You definitely don't want to run more than 1 copy. Okay. Ooh, back now. Sorry, daddy duties. I know it happens when you have kids. Okay, where was I? Speaking of kids, let's talk about my children a little bit more. Satellarknight Vega. How does this card work for me lately? You kind of... it's a little tricky, guys, because 1 imperm to this card and you're kind of screwed unless you have extensions like Sakitama or Thrasher. You want to be very cautious when you're playing this card. If you can avoid it at any cost, I would. She's a good like mid-combo card because you can extend with it. Talk about horrible cards is a Constellar Sheraton. God, if this thing was a 4 or a warrior, I would be so much more comfortable. Nothing is worse when this is the only card you have and you pray to God that you do not get hit with Imperm or Ash, because then you just set and pass. They need to print a card that can get Constellar Caduceus out into the field a lot faster. If you guys know of any way, let me know, because this mofo is a spellcaster as well, so it's not like I can search it with any other Satellarknight other than Sheraton. So unfortunately, Sheraton remains in here. Thank God I don't have Constellar Twinkle anymore. I cannot imagine drawing that brick. It's hard to limit bricks in this deck, and I know a lot of cards have it, but this deck is definitely belongs in like a tier 2-3 category, because of, unless you're a really good pilot and you can will this deck into winning, but realistically speaking, it's a little tough. And I'm giving you the best version of the deck that's possible by any content creator out there. And now you guys will go and check out other profiles, but this is the most optimal version to play this deck, I guarantee it. To finish up the lineup is Sirius. I was playing Sirius before anybody else was playing Sirius. Go back into my older videos and you guys can see this guy is pretty nutty. God, I wish other Satellarknight cards were good, but this guy is an extender. He's a +1. That's why I don't run Pot of Desires or Pot of Prosperity. Prosperity definitely not. Your deck space is tight as it is. Desires, you don't want to banish any of the cards that are required for your combo, like the Infernoble or Sheraton. So that's it for the Satellarknights. Just keep in mind how you play these guys. There's a very specific way in order that you can play them to play through hand traps. But if you make one slight mistake, it could be like turnover. You can lose to an Imperm. Circular, Nabla, and Diameter. Your extenders. Circulars obviously took a big hit, but it's okay. At 1, it still works because you still have Signet Mining to search for him. And Diameter is actually pretty good normal summon as well. If you start off with nothing but this engine, if you have Matmech and Diameter in hand, that's a-okay, because with Matmech you dump off Nabla, and then with Diameter you bring Nabla back, and then you go into your Tellarknight combos and then bring out Tellarknight monsters onto the field with Caduceus. So that's why this deck works with these 3 guys perfectly. And then final extenders is the Sakitama, an extra normal summon. Really solid card. There's a red version of this one. I would not play it because 1 Imperm and then you just lose. Secondary effect, remember this guy recycles back to your hand, so somehow if you're not able to use it. Wait, hold on. If this card is distributed, target 1 spirit monster in your graveyard added to your hand. Does that include itself? Might be. Yeah, you can recycle this. That's pretty nutty. 1 brick of a card. Infernoble Knight, Renaud. Hate drawing this guy, man. It's like the most painful thing to draw. Thank goodness it's not a common. It helps that it's a warrior, so it's searchable. Not that you'll ever search for this. And yeah, so this is the variation of the deck that works the best as of now, as of this format. It sucks that I tried doing a lot of different versions of this. I think Sky Striker version of this does not work because it locks you into links and then limits your extra deck space. But there is a Sky Striker monster that's a generic that will kind of go into this deck later. So I'm excited about that. Azalea, I think is her name. Yeah, other than that, this is like the best version. And you can also try and run the Chaos Space version with the black and white. I mean, that's something to test out. I'll be definitely doing that in the future, but not as of now. For the spell cards, 3 of your best spell cards is the Constellar Tellarknights, your extender that before you didn't have. I cut down the Skybridge to 1. 2 was unnecessary, especially because this is you can recycle it with Caduceus easily. So I'm gonna test out 1 for now. You got 3 copies of your Signet Mining. This is, thank goodness, this is still at 3. It lets you bring out your Circular for your combos. You got 1 Rhoda, 1 Kolbai, and then 1 Living Fossil. Not as much of a break as you thought it would be. So, I mean, in hindsight, it's pretty good. I cut down the deck to like 42 cards, I believe. A few things I'm still testing out, but this is what works for you. as of now. So you got the Impermanence. Still such a good trap card. However, I find it more useful during during my turn than during my opponent's turn, if that makes sense. Because they can almost every deck plays through Imperm now, but during your turn, that's like one less Omni Negate that you have to deal with. Speaking of Omni Negates, 3 Stellar Nova Alphas. It's such a good card to open with, you know. If it's like, if you end the play with like with like a Tellarknight on the field and this, it's like an Omni Negate +1. Who wouldn't like this, you know? Matmech, Super Factorial. Not gonna say anything else about that card. Pretty cracked, pretty amazing. Definitely run that card. For the extra deck, what do I have here? I have the standard, you know, 1 copy of Diamond. If you know you're playing against a dark deck and a deck that turns from deck to graveyard, like the Branded, this will stop it. 1 Talamias for your lock. 1 M7. Don't forget about M7's hidden effect. Once, I think, but you can't do it during your turn anyway because you're not using Constellar monster. You're using, right? By using Constellar, you control as an Executor. If you do, its effects cannot be activated this turn. Yeah, if you use his first effect to attach himself, which is what we're doing, you can't use his secondary effect, which is bounce a card. Return it to the hand. Yeah, that would have been handy, but too bad. Constellar Caduceus, which I noticed is a spellcaster, which makes me wonder. There's a Link spellcaster that I might look into. Not to spoil too much, but if people are figuring out now to imperm this card, and once they imperm this card, then this is the only extender you have, and you don't have the spell card in your hand, you're kind of stuck. I've been caught with my pants down with this card in my hand on the field, and I got impermed, and I had nothing to do but pass. So that's a really frustrating feeling, but you know, you live and learn. Live and learn, as they say. And Deltaros. Remember, Deltaros, one effect that we keep forgetting, guys, is that while this card has an Executor, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when you normal summon or special summon a monster. It's a built-in protection for all your monsters. So no judgment, no nothing. Once it's pretty handy. Although I don't know when we would utilize that because he's always finds himself off to the field. But it's pretty good effect to have. You got your Utopic package. Still the best version of this deck that I run. And of course it's paired with Gagaga Magician. Don't forget Gagaga's Magician is a built-in 1000 attack boost when battling. Also, one thing I forgot to mention is that I just killed a fly. Ew. One thing I forgot to mention is Constellar, where is he? Caduceus. Okay, Caduceus has an effect all the way at the bottom that I sometimes neglect. If this card battles, if a card that's used as an Executor with this thing battles a light or dark monster, before damage to the calculation, you can banish that monster. I mean, it's pretty solid, you know, like, it's not, I don't think it's an activated effect. I think it's like a built-in effect, which is pretty, cracked. Bye-bye Branded. The Primat Mech Alambertian and Laplacian, and then you got your Isolde, which is pretty good in this deck. You got your 3 to 4 negate Appaloosa, Zeus, Daddy Zeus, and then the Chaos Angel. I had this card in my deck, I took it out, and I regret it. Why? Because if there's a follow-up turn, this card becomes really good because I essentially need one of the Bestials and then one Satellarknight, and I can get overboard. 3,500. I don't know why I didn't think of that sooner. As great as Trevor is, you guys notice that he's not in this deck. That's because Trevor limits me. Once Trevor is on the field, I cannot exceed summon other monsters other than Satellarknights, and that's not the way that the deck runs. It used to run like that, but going second, it's still a good card. And I think what I do going second is I take out the Matmech engine, because Matmech works great going first. Going second, it's like a little too slow. Instead, I just run the Dark Tellarknight Battle Miss, and I pair it with Trigger, because this is 2 Tellarknights into the Trigger. Opening turn, going second. The mistake I made with this card, and I didn't play it a lot, that's why I wasn't too familiar with it, but during my last tournament, I think I kept XC summoning, or XC summoned Diamond on top of Trigger, and I forget, once I use this guy's effect, I cannot XC summon other monsters for the rest of the turn. Which kind of sucks, you know, like why put that limitation on here, man? It's very unfortunate. But these guys pair well with Dark Rulers, and I think that's like the combination. You Dark Ruler and then you clear the board with Trigger, and then for follow-up you just, I mean, you can swing, and then if you, yeah, you can swing, and then, I mean, at least it floats. Let's see, does this thing have any limitations that I'm forgetting about? Yeah, so yeah, you can't even go Zeus. That's why it's in the side. 3 evenly matched. That's, you know, standard. I'm looking for the what do you call it? The water one, the turtle looking thing, instead of this one. This is against those birds. I fucking forget their name. Flungeries or whatever. Awesome for time. Also remember, you don't necessarily need to draw this guy. You can banish shit off of Cadacious's effect and instantly burn for 1,000. Freaking amazing. Droll and Locks are relevant in my deck, but they live in the side deck for now. Still a lot of decks that utilize this, but a lot of decks that it doesn't really matter anymore. Harpy's Feather Dusters here might adjust these ratios and put Lightning Storms in here instead. But yeah, that's about it for the kind of the changes that I made to the deck. As it stands now, there's different engines that you can implement. The circular one is the best. If you have enough creativity, you can run the Utopia version of this deck, which I've done before, and I think it synergizes well because they're all 4s, they're all essentially free special summons, and it doesn't really lock you into anything other than XCs, which is what this deck is. So you can try running that. Let me know in the comments down below if that works for you, but this is what is working for me. I'll be doing a live stream next weekend at my tournament. I'll try to do better for you guys. Yeah, might as well live stream the video. I know that should I do live stream or should I record and edit? You guys let me know in the comments down below. Whatever. Until then, you guys have a good night and enjoy the rest of my existing content. I'll see you guys another day. Satellarknight is out.